So perhaps you've been doing your homeschooling now for 2 or 3 weeks and you're not quite sure what's going on, or maybe you just want a bit of guidance, and maybe you're doing really well. Any of those things are really great because you can check in with us and we can share as a community. So first of all, where are you in the mood map? Remember, we say that mood is a mixture of two things: how much energy or how little energy you have, and also how negative you're feeling, pleasantness wise, and or how positive you're feeling. And it's the two of those things together, how much energy you've got or your how negative or positive that you're feeling, that gives you your mood. And at this moment, I would say that I'm pretty low mood and I'm here in the middle. I'll say so I'm quite calm. I wouldn't say that I'm indifferent, but I'm quite calm today. It's Friday, it's the end of the week. It's been a really good week, and I'm really looking forward to the weekend where I can do my own thing. What are you doing this weekend? So now we've identified where we are in the mood map, and please feel free to write down, even when, if you're not live then and you're watching a rerun, indicate where you are in the mood map below. We're going to be talking about how we can do those sanctions and rewards when we're teaching that young one, because it could be really difficult. And we need to be able to go forward and learn. Now, in my book, Runs in the Family, we've talked a lot about sanctions and rewards, and a really great place to search for material that's going to help you is www.empoweringparents.com. It is amazing. It's got templates for everything. If you want your child to it's something for you to put up in the kitchen or a common place to help them do their homework, to help them do household chores, to help them, for example, that sequence themselves and prepare themselves in the morning to wake up and do their bed and all this, that and the other, and get ready for school or get ready for homeschooling, as the case may be. And all of these things are really, really good. The reason why they're really good is that through repetition and through using sanctions and rewards, you're actually training them up to how to do this without being told and without being prompted. And I remember when I first started teaching, first of all, it was difficult for me, and then I started putting in sanctions and rewards. Hi James, how are you? I started putting sanctions and rewards, and then my classrooms just transformed. Everything was more peaceful. I could concentrate more on learning and achievement, and I was happy as Larry. And there was a young person that I was teaching. He was year 10. His name was Stevie. He was really naughty, wasn't very engaged, but he had a lot of potential. And I spoke with his parents. And I wasn't criticising their son, but I was talking about the impact of his behaviour on his work. That he was underachieving and what the impact of that would be. And his parents said, well, it's really important that Stevie had his science qualifications because he wanted to go on to do science. And what they did, they grounded him for 2 weeks, and they took away his most important things for him anyway. So they took away his mobile phone, and the TV time was restricted. Right, James, what are you saying? How much mental health did you see in the school that you worked in day to day? In retrospect, there was a lot. I didn't see at the time because I was more on the curriculum side. But yeah, I did see that there's a lot of young people that they were struggling to manage their moods and struggling to manage their mental health. And then we didn't really have the training because we had a lot of inset or a lot of training as teachers, but we didn't have training within mental health. It was more about, special needs. And what we do with a young person with autism and things like that. And that's all good, but it wasn't, we didn't have training to show us how to behave if a young person was stressed out or had depression or was anxious or had panic attacks and things like that. But we always focused on the achievement, never criticising the young person, because it is, and also talking about what was getting in the way or what the barrier was to them achieving. And this is what I did with Stevie by speaking with his parents like that, and they took away a lot of his privileges for about 3 weeks. Hi Natalie, how are you? Please feel free to contribute. And I saw a marked change in Stevie. and his results started excelling, and I was really pleased. I was so pleased. It was not at the end of that unit, but the next unit, maybe about 4 to 6 weeks later, that I gave him a letter. I gave him a letter so he could take it home to his parents, just saying how well he was doing. And then the following week he came back to me and he said, look, Miss, thanks for giving me that letter. My parents are really pleased with me. I've been doing really well. And this summer, or next summer, I'm going to Florida. I've always wanted to go to Florida. And then I saw in that moment the impact of all of these sanctions and rewards and the impact that it can have on somebody's life, because he was so happy. Now, as a teacher or an ex-teacher, I saw lots of things that worked with young people because I was always contacting their parents because it was, for us to work together for the welfare of their child. And out of all of the sanctions that I saw, sanctions such as taking away a mobile phone or, removing access or grounding or TV time or computer time or games time, things that had the most impact. Now, there were other ways of sanctions, such as, one such as shouting and screaming and where there was violence, would never worked, but just caused more distress. So when you are applying the sanctions and rewards, consistency is the key. You have to, because in being consistent with your rewards and sanctions, you're showing that young person that, that good behaviour works and poor behaviour doesn't work, which then helps them be more developed and rounded as adults. And then when they're functioning members of the community, they will realise that it doesn't work, if they don't pay their fines, for example, or they're less likely to get into trouble. Also, they're more likely to think of the impact of their behaviour on others around them. And even if they do get fined and something does happen, then they will always take steps to sort it out and resolve it, because they'll know that there's an impact of their behaviour. And also as well, it's really important, sanctions and rewards, because it raises the level of emotional intelligence, and each young person is more responsible as they realise and are responsible for the impact of their behaviour on others around them. And this is really good, because then they can take their behaviours in later on in their lives. This develops their emotional intelligence, and there's a lot of research that shows that when you develop emotional intelligence of young people, then they grow up in life to be full-rounded adults. They're more likely to be managers in their work. They're more likely to be successful, to have happy, healthy families, as they think of the impact of their behaviour on those around them. And when you are chastising a young person, you don't talk about them, you talk about the impact of their poor behaviour. And I remember when we first started doing our mentoring about 10 years ago, we had a young girl called Sarah, and she used to do things like just run out of the house in the middle of the night and disappear, and she's only 14 years old and she was excluded, and then turn up the following day, which was quite difficult for her parents. And we started supporting her and mentoring her. And what I would do with Sarah, I would invite her to look at the reasons why, or the impact of her behaviour, like when she's running away like that and she's just disappearing, that what the impact of maybe the lack of sleep with her family, the worry, the concern and the disruption. And what happened as we started developing those critical qualities within her, and she started looking at the impact of those on her family and her sisters. It reduced. So instead of running out every 3 weeks, it'd be every 6 weeks, and every 2 months, and every 3 months, and then gradually started tailing off until. We do our mentoring services just for 12 weeks, but in the end, her parents asked us to stay with her, because she was an exceptional case, for the next 2 years until she left school, which we gladly did. Also, as well, we talked about the importance of consistency and using these sanctions and reward charts. And, it's really important to make sure that you've got a plan as well. So if you've got a year at a glance plan that you can put up on the wall, have different colours for different members of the family, it's really important that each one engages in an activity. And if your child is doing something, they're doing an art class or they're doing a drama class, that you're doing something as well. As a parent, you're doing something for yourself. because, you've seen when you're flying and they warn you that if, when you have the oxygen mask, first of all, you have to sort yourself out. And once you sort yourself out, then you can look to your child. You can't be giving activities to your child to do and not focusing on yourself, because you are the source of it all. And so you need to be spending that 15 minutes a day at minimum for yourself, when you can do anything you want to do. It can be nothing, it could be praying, it can be meditating, it can be anything that you want to do, because it's your time, and that time for you to reflect on yourself, and it's all about you. Now, looking at the website that I told you about, Empowering Parents, www.empoweringparents.org, there's some really great sanction and reward charts, as I told you at the beginning of the video, that you can take and that you can amend for yourselves. And they've got some great sanctions and rewards. I'm just looking at one now. So more or less, you've got the same thing going on for no matter what the age group is. So let's say, for example, if you've got a child from age 5 to 9, consequences, for example, can be a lot of TV, video games, computer games, going to bed early, doing an additional chore, not earning their favourite activity. Now, their favourite activity could be anything that makes them feel good. Apart from things that are creative and games, because we really need to ensure that in this moment in time that the young people in our lives are, that they're managing their mental health like that. And they'll have lots of free time, and then a reward would be the absolute opposite. So additional TV time, additional video game time, additional computer time, staying up later, having someone else to do your chore, gaining additional activity and additional free time. So that's between 5 and 9 years old. And so looking at, if you've got a child between 10 and 14, for example, the only thing that you would add there would be maybe loss of a cell phone, loss or additional time of a cell phone, depending on whether it's a consequence or a reward, and ending an activity early, or having extra time with their activity. And then if you've got a young person and they are older, because I just want you to compare, because basically it's all the same thing, but so if they are between 15 and 17 years old, you would add to that having an earlier curfew or a later curfew, but of course, they everybody's curfew, so that really wouldn't count. Losing access to the car or gaining access to the car, which wouldn't really count now either, but losing unsupervised time with friends, that would count. And then the reward would be having a supervised time with friends, because you can do that. They can do that through FaceTime. Might not be able to have a sleepover, but they can use FaceTime, they can use Zoom. Because all these things will really help in this moment in time to encourage them. And so there's lots and lots on www.empoweringparents.com, lots of sanction and reward charts that you can use with the young person, that you can put it up. You can decide what the sanctions and rewards are and start with about 5 rules that you agree with, and you stick to that, and you're consistent, and you make a plan. Because the plan, that when you're planning ahead, it just reduces all the chaos. So if you've got any questions, please do write them down. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'm just seeing if there's any more questions. So thank you, Gemma and Natalie. And I will see you on the next video on Monday. So have an amazing weekend. Thank you very much.